All right, we're now joined by Unisa Police Practice Department Criminologist, Professor Dumisani Mabunda. Professor Mabunda, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. So Witness C has really detailed some damning allegations against a number of people. We heard earlier he spoke about how on the day of the arrest of Vusmuzi Cat Matlala, they followed him and he had allegedly come from the house, the Midrand home of the former police commissioner, of which she has denied any of those claims. He also speaks about certain monies that he paid towards the January 8 celebrations in order for there to be a presidential campaign for the current Minister of Police. When you listen to all of this, are these typical patterns of interference by organized crime in political processes?
Yeah, thank you, Katlaho, and greetings to the viewers. Witness C dropped some bombshells today. It will be very difficult to dispute what Witness C has outlined. From what I've heard, he is speaking the truth. And unfortunately for the witnesses that are appointed by Witness C, will not have an opportunity to come and dispute what he has outlined today. The question is, how deep has the rot filtered in the criminal justice system? Society may be having this opportunity to hear details about individuals that will be appearing at Madlanga Commission as well as the ad hoc commission. But we will not be in a position to understand how deep the rot of corruption has filtered in the criminal justice system.
Prof, at this point, is it safe to say that it's still hearsay? I mean, at some point, the commissioners were asking Witness C whether or not they had any other corroborating evidence with regards to what Matlala has said. And he said, well, we were just giving him an ear. At the time of that arrest, he asked to speak to somebody. And therefore, at some point, many of these people that have been accused can just say, well, if anything, Matlala was just saying something in order for him to get leverage over them with regards to all his actions.
Yeah, a good question, Katlaho. We will just have to wait and see what the implicated individuals who have not yet appeared before this commission will say. Obviously, evidence is presented to these two commissions. They will have time to sift through and see what is credible and what is not credible. So we will not be in a position at this stage to determine where the wind is blowing. But from what we have been hearing since these commissions have started, it blows in one direction, where we can assume that indeed the criminal justice system, especially the top echelons of the SAPS, were infiltrated because these individuals were brandishing their wallets, and unfortunately it appears that they were unable to resist taking those monies to try and defeat the ends of justice, which is a criminal offense. These commissions will make recommendations, and we can pin our hopes that some of these individuals will eventually end up in court to account for what they are being accused of.
I mean, earlier, Prof, you mentioned how deep this rot could possibly go. And just listening to Witness C and some of the accounts, I mean, he spoke about how General Shadrack Sibiya as well as the KZN Hawks head, General Sinona, were involved in a multi-million rand kickback scheme where this involves a 1.2 billion rand SAPS contract. He also speaks of a Sergeant Ngosi who's stationed at the SAPS head office, in which he was the go-between guy with regards to how the kickbacks would flow. This is quite worrying to understand that the rot really it's so layered. How do you think moving forward and us trying to find solutions, the state would be able to effectively counteract a lot of this infiltration that really seems to be deep-seated within SAPS?
I think what will happen after these commissions, South Africans will be given an opportunity to reform these institutions. Yes, we will not build from scratch, but with the vetting processes and security clearances, these institutions will be in a position to get rid of corruption. While we may not eliminate corruption entirely, but with political will and resources directed at strategic institutions, there can be a turnaround. We have an opportunity to rebuild these state institutions going forward, and also to benchmark with countries around the world that have managed to deal with this cancerous issue called corruption in the criminal justice system. We must not lose hope now. Let us keep on following what is unfolding in these institutions and hope that the recommendations will eventually be implemented so that we start rebuilding.
In your view, Prof, what do you think motivates high-ranking officials as well as police officers to engage in such criminal activities despite the risks that are involved?
A good question, Katlego. It's a multiple things that leads people to get involved in corruption. Firstly is the issue of money. If you are in a career for money purposes and it's not a calling, you are likely to accept wrong things, hoping that they will not be discovered. It's greed, to cut a long story short. That is greed. But in terms of the police officials at the lower levels, it's the issue of morale, it's the issue of promotion processes. You find low-ranking officers who have to deal with crimes, who are at the cold face of crime, who are lowly paid. And when they get to crime scenes, they stand a great chance of being bribed and corruption taking place at that level. But what surprises me is at the higher level, because when you look at their salaries, the commissioners and the general, yes, it may not be that big, but definitely it's a salary that you can live on and not having to accept corruption because already you are having enough. But yeah, what is enough is subjective. Right. What is enough for you may not necessarily be enough for me. So once I succeeded in bribing a corrupt person for R1 million, I may be enticed to say, if I try 2 million, I may also succeed.
And Prof, I mean, it's quite concerning, especially if any of these allegations are true with regards to the access that Vusumuzi Cat Matlala had, if indeed he did come from the former police commissioner's home, Rea Piecha in Midrand, if indeed he's got those relations with the current police minister, Mkhunu. Minister Cele has obviously then said within the parliamentary ad hoc committee that he's had conversations with Vusumuzi Cat Matlala to realize how someone who is involved in such criminal activities, to have such close proximity to people that the country really trusts with their security, that is quite alarming, is it not?
It is. What remains is how far has these individuals gone to have connections with people in high positions, because at the moment we hear of a number of people that have interacted with these individuals. But at this stage, we don't know how much more did they get to a position where they can influence issues like tenders and in various government institutions. Because right now we are hearing what is taking place in the criminal justice system. Yes, we have heard what has happened in hospitals. Unfortunately, it's one hospital. Some inquiries still have to happen in other institutions, as I indicated earlier on, we may think that is just a small thing, but the cancer has gone deeper and deeper.
Certainly.
So the sooner we identify all of these institutions that have fallen to these corrupt elements, the better, because if we solve one area, we will not be able to develop as a country, because other institutions might have been infiltrated as well.
Most certainly. Prof, thank you so much for your time and for your insights this evening. That was Professor Dumisani Mabunda, who is the Unisa Police Practice Department Criminologist.